All right, welcome and good afternoon, and welcome to the 2016 edition. And I clearly have not changed this slide, so we'll have to do that in the post editing. So, the 2016 edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly of Social Media. It has been a pretty crazy year. This is our third year of doing this. This is our third year of doing The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And generally, just so you guys know how this works, I go through social media in general all day, every day, whether it be Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And when I see something amazing that makes me smile, I screenshot it and I throw it into a folder. But the same when I see something terrible or something even maybe ugly, and I throw that into a file. And then at the end of the year, in December, I open up that file and I look at it all. And I don't look at it throughout the year. I just open it in December. I look at it and I start to categorize things as good, bad, or ugly. And it's really interesting to me what's kind of happened over the years. I take a look at those things and and start to filter them into groups. So I hope that you get something out of this. As always, this session is not meant to shame anyone. As you know, most of the time we do blur out and hide identities, so the guilty are protected. But we do want to make sure that you learn something from this. So hopefully, along the way, as we show you some of these examples, you'll hopefully improve your social media going into 2017. So on that note, we give you the usual disclaimer. All comments and opinions are my own. Please don't send me any hate mail unless it includes chocolate. No kittens have been harmed in the making of this presentation, and I really do hope that you learn from it. One thing I do like to start this session, though, with, and I usually call it the annual public service announcement, is just I really would ask you, as you're going through this webinar with me and as you're looking at some of these examples, I would ask yourself, why are you on social media? Why do you have an online presence? Why are you creating an online presence at all? Would really encourage you to start asking yourself that question. We are going to talk a little bit about the why today. And I do think it's really important that you start with a why. I think a lot of us, we're starting to see Facebook telling people, you've been on Facebook for 10 years at this point. That's crazy insane. I think some of the things I'm going to show you in the ugly section today have actually been around for 10 years. But I would encourage you, as you're looking at this, to maybe start thinking about your why in terms of your online presence. The next thing that I want to start with is this, and I used this last year, and I'd like to keep this in again this year. So something that really kind of stuck with me last year as I was going through some of the bad and the ugly is we really are quite vocal about stuff that's bad. We really kind of publicly flog people when things go badly or when somebody does something terrible. And I think some of the stuff that's been in ugly over the last couple of years have been a good example of, wow, did you see what they did? And that kind of spreads like wildfire. But what doesn't necessarily spread like wildfire is the good stuff. And so, as always, as I said last year and as I said this year, my main goal in this session is to have more good than ugly. And thankfully, that wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be this year. It was a pretty ugly year on social media. Let's face it, there was a lot of ugliness being thrown around, and I was worried I wasn't going to have as much good, but I am really excited to show you the good today because there is some pretty amazing good happening out there. And I know that you guys are going to take a look at that and learn from it. So we are going to go ahead and jump right in. And as always, the good is the do more of this section. This is where you're going to see the stuff that's fantastic examples of people, real estate agents using social media for good, but not just for good, but in ways that are funny and interesting and amazing. And so I want to really draw attention to those and give those people high fives today because they are really taking this online social presence to a new level. And I know that all of us can really learn from them. So before we jump in, I would really encourage you, if you'd like to follow along and give these people kudos, if you see somebody's name or face that you recognize, feel free to give them a shout out on social media. Use the hashtag #GoodBadUgly and make sure that they know that their efforts on social media and online are being noticed, because a big part of this is to actually really call out the stuff that is great. So with that, we're going to jump right into maybe my favorite social media post of the year. And I don't know exactly why. I can't really put this one into words, but this one, and as you know, I usually try and put a clever little caption with each one of these. I called this one Pure Gold. This is actually Kristen McFeely, from the Philly Homegirls, who I got to meet at a wonderful conference this year. And I thought this was one of the best examples that I have ever seen of welcoming a new buyer to their home. Not only is it one of the most beautiful photos that I have ever seen on Facebook, but it was just lighthearted, and congratulations to Katie. She purchased her home, and who doesn't love that kind of warm-hearted, beautiful, wonderful feeling? And I saw that and I thought, gosh, I hope that Kristen frames that and gives that to Katie, because that is a wonderful memory of that moment. And I know that we all get to see these moments all the time, but to capture it in such a beautiful photo, that to me just was pure gold. Here's one of my other favorites this year, and from one of my favorite people as well, Gwen Daubenmire from the Integrity team in Michigan. And this was just cheeky and funny, visual, but also educational and entertaining. This was really the trifecta of awesomeness on social media. Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Santa going down the chimney, but a little bit of education. Currently, when she posted this, there were 222 single-family homes for sale with fireplaces in the area that she services. And just a kind of a cheeky, oh, you don't need to go down the chimney because we have the keys to those homes. So what I love about this is it's telling you something you didn't know, it's educating you, it's doing it in a fun fashion and visually. So those three things, educational, entertaining, and visual, are, just so you know, the three most important things that you can do on social media to grab attention. And Gwen, good job. You guys really nailed it on this one. Fantastic example of good social media. This one I also loved. This one from Steve, who's a mortgage planner. This one really just stood out, and he got tons of likes, 24 shares, 24 likes, 46 shares, tons of comments. This is what I'm calling edu awesome. I think, and I say this all the time, our highest and best calling as real estate professionals, and even mortgage professionals in this case, your highest and best calling is educating your customers. If you can leave them with more information than they started with, that is one of your most valuable moments as a professional. When you can teach somebody something they don't know, that is when you have immediately added value to their lives. And so, really, one of the things that we should be looking at is, what is the opportunity every single day to be educating our customers? And Steve just really nailed it in this one. This was a fun, interesting, factual diagram of what it actually is like to buy a house in the order that you might go through it. And so, as a new home buyer, this is really helpful to understand that it's not just, hey, I go look at houses with you, we put a sold sign in the yard and we're done. There's a whole lot of other steps in there. And as a real estate professional, what's awesome is that you get to use something like this to educate them in terms of where you're going to be with them every step of the way. So they don't think that you just show houses, put signs in the yard, and cash checks. You actually do all this other stuff that can be confusing and scary and complicated, and you make that process simpler for them. So I loved this, Steve. Fantastic job. Great. I would encourage all of you to put together something like this that would help to explain the process to your clients. I really thought this one was cute, but there was something about this one that really is important, and that's the word timely. I think we all kind of went through this Pokemon phase in different degrees. I know some of you may still be in the Pokemon phase, no judging. But what was most important about this is this isn't real estate related. This is just funny. But what was interesting about it is it was so on point. It was the day that Pokemon kind of went crazy, and all of a sudden this kind of made the rounds, and a real estate agent used it and shared it as a way to just kind of make light of the situation. And what was really interesting about this is that because timing is everything on social, it created conversation, it created engagement, but also engagement that was just lighthearted. And sometimes I think that we do need to do that. Last year, I know that we had one that said everybody else's open house that way and my open house with pizza this way. And they were some directional signs. And sometimes every once in a while, you've just got to put a little bit of lighthearted fun in there to show people that you are a human. So I really liked that. This other one that I enjoyed a lot, this was a post by Nobu Hata, everybody's favorite guy around. He posted this, and I thought this was just, I'm sorry, this just made my day. Is that again, everyone's talking about Pokemon and how can we use Pokemon in their lead generation tactics? And immediately everyone's starting to talk about, oh, I'm going to put a Pokestop at my open houses. And it just kind of went a little bit crazy that one week this year where everyone went Poke crazy. And I love that Nobu kind of, again, in a lighthearted way and very good timing, said, look, in the amount of time that it's going to take you to actually figure out how to put a Pokestop at your open house, these are some of the things you could do to actually make business, which was fun and also educational, as real estate agents are his clients. It was really timely and interesting. And as you can see, it got lots of comments and lots of likes and lots of shares. And so, again, there are times when you can make something lighthearted and educational, but timely. And timely is that really key point. If you can make it timely and you get people when they're interested in something and why they're interested in something, that is good content. So great job, Nobu. This one was one of my favorite posts this year as well. Dan McDonald really nailed this in terms of the why. And I told you we were going to talk a little bit about the why, and here it is. This is why I love my job. I'm not just helping his family buy real estate, I'm helping him find a home. I thought this was just really at the heart of our business right here. And so I would encourage you as you're looking at this to figure out what's your why. These are the very best posts, people. When you talk about your why, not just what you do every day, not just, oh, super busy, had multiple offers. That kind of stuff kind of gets a bit boring and doesn't really mean anything to me. But when I took a look at this, the first thing I thought was, that is personal. That's human. That's something that made me smile. That's something that made me pause and stop and look at it. And it also made me remember Dan as somebody who talks about his why. And so I would encourage you to pay attention to stuff like that and use that in a way that's going to help you fill your timeline with stuff that talks about why you get out of bed in the morning. So I love that one. Great job, Dan. This was also one of my favorite posts of the year. This one was on Instagram, and I'm going to be showing you some stuff off Instagram today, but also off of LinkedIn and also off of Twitter. I think it's really important that we focus on all of these different social media mediums because, let's face it, Instagram is quickly becoming a lot of people's favorites. And I loved this one. Sissy from New Orleans shared this, and particularly the hashtags really got me on this one. Follow your NOLA and show me your NOLA. I loved that because I like to show some local love in Good, Bad, Ugly every year. And Sissy, you really nailed local love this year. That is something that quintessentially talks to your neighborhood, what you might see in the neighborhood that you live and work and play in. But also, you shared your love for something about your community. And there is so much value, you guys, in being the voice of your community. And if you can find a way to do it visually and show that local love, that is 100% always going to be a popular social media post because people will feel that you really care about the place that you live, work, and serve, but also that you're just a member of the community right alongside with them. And so there is value there, guys. Find ways to be the voice of your community. Showcase some of those things that everybody just kind of walks past or looks past every day and doesn't necessarily appreciate. You can take one beautiful, simple image and make that something that just shines. So great job, Sissy. Loved that. One of the other great, fantastic, and this is not just one post, but this is a general use of the media here, is Ann Jones, and one of my favorite people in the world, but also a fantastic real estate agent out in Tacoma, Washington. She is Tacoma Jones on Instagram. And if you are looking for someone who that will uplift your heart and make you feel like there is truly a why in this business, you should be following her on Instagram. She's always showing off her town. She makes it look like a place that not only would you like to visit, but you would love to live. She's fantastically talented in terms of putting the right lighting and the right shot together to make it feel like that's somewhere I would want to go, and also somewhere that I would want to live. She showcases her life and her family, but also with a lot of love, the different types of homes and businesses that are in her community. And so you could all learn a lot of lessons from Ann Jones. I would encourage you all to follow her on Instagram and see some of the ways that she really shows love for her community. One of the other things that I found, and this was on LinkedIn, and I think I'm probably not alone in saying LinkedIn is kind of the forgotten social media site. I go there occasionally, but I don't spend a lot of time there. But this one really stood out for me this year. It didn't just stand out for me for the photo, but I also looked at it and realized that this has been liked over 19,000 times. It had 800 plus comments. But this was a post by a CEO, a VP of development for Hilton worldwide, who basically was sharing a fantastic story about a person who cleans the restrooms in the airport. And I thought, I looked at this and I thought, we need more of this. We need more VPs and CEOs and people in positions of influence who are showing and shining the light on those who are doing the great heavy lifting in this industry. And I thought that this one was a perfect example, but I know that we have a number of VPs, CEOs, C-level execs who are in this industry who have the opportunity to use their social powers for good. And I thought this was a fantastic example of how we could do that. Talk about those who are in our industry at our front desks and who are in the back rooms and who are processing the deals, who we don't necessarily always shine the light on. We talk a lot, we have a lot of lists about people who are most influential or most powerful, but we don't necessarily always shine the light as much on those who are doing the work in the trenches every single day. And you don't have to be a VP or a C-level exec to do this. All of us have the opportunity to do this, to shine the light on people who are doing great work out there. And so I thought this was a fantastic example of social media, fantastic example of someone who has influence and a voice and is using it for good. And so I loved that example and was so excited to put that in there. This one was also one that I just absolutely loved. This is Katie Maxwell from Montero Real Estate, and she did something that I thought was just fantastic this year. I've seen this happen in offices in the past where offices have brought together their agents or their team members and done vision boards at the end of the year. But I loved this one because Katie and her group put together a vision board night and opened it to the public, to their clients, their community members, to their friends, and said, come and let's talk about setting goals and being more successful and having a vision in all areas of our life and making sure that we all support each other in what those vision boards might look like. Absolutely loved this idea. This is like a totally different way to involve your community and figure out what are their goals. Do they want to buy a home? Do they want to rent? Do they want a new job? Do they want to have better work-life balance? Would they love to see more walking trails? Would they like to get a dog? Doesn't matter whether it's real estate related or not. We are in the business of changing lives. We say this all the time. And so to start with a vision board day where you bring people in and say, let's help you start to figure out what your life would look like if you could meet your goals. And then let's talk about ways over the table while we're cutting photos out of magazines about ways that we can help you get there. This was amazing. And so Katie, great job. Loved seeing this. Can't wait to see the one for next year. One of these days, I would love to get down to Texas and participate in this with you. Fantastic use of social media. Also, this one, have to give a shout out to one of my favorite people, Lisa. You are fantastic, and this post really just spoke to my heart. It wasn't fancy, it didn't have any great big images or visuals, but what it did was it very specifically called out in your community a need. And the senior home that's across the street from your office, they don't get visitors, they don't have Christmas cheer. Here's what you can do to help. I've created an Amazon list for you. All you need to do is go in, click on it, have stuff sent to them. This was fantastic. There was a call to action. There was a cause. There was heart. It was local, and it was amazing. I am so excited to see more of this kind of stuff come to light where we can dig in and roll up our sleeves and help out in areas where it's not always fancy. It's not always a big give. It's not always a big campaign, but it's something small and it's something that has huge impact. And this was, this was one of the reasons why this made the good list this year, is just because not only is it local, but it's giving back in a really, really local and personal way. And so I loved that, and a fantastic job, Lisa, and your team. So that was the good list. And there's one thing that I want to point out before we move on to bad, and that was a couple of these words that I just used really frequently to describe those: visual, educational, fun, kind, local, real, and useful. All of those words just described the good stuff. And so as you go into 2017, as you start to look at your online marketing strategy, as you start to look at the types of stuff that you post on social, but also online and on your websites and your blogs and your newsletters, I would encourage you to have these words, maybe even like screenshot this page and hang these words up and look at them and say, am I hitting any of these goalposts? Is it visual? Is it something interesting to look at? Is it teaching somebody something? Is it fun? Is it lighthearted? Is it kind? Does it talk about my local community? Is it real, and is it useful to somebody? These are some real great goalposts in terms of making sure that your content is the good stuff. All right, let's move on to the bad. After the good, we always move on to the bad, but I'd love to just, again, one last shout out to everybody who made the good list this year. I just really appreciate so much of that fantastic, warm-hearted use of social that's floating around in our industry, showing people that we are people who care and want to give back to our communities. So let's move on to the bad. Now, I like to call this stuff the it's not too late to fix it stuff. It's not like the ugly that is just, this just needs to go away. The bad is stuff that we need to learn from. And so I would encourage you, as we go through these next couple of slides, to take a look at the lesson behind these, not necessarily just that we're showing something that was wrong, but what can you learn from it? What's the lesson? So let's start out with this one. This one I call so many hashtags, so little info. And here's one of my biggest pet peeves, guys, is when you post to Instagram and you sync it to Facebook. Now, we know Instagram and Facebook are owned by the same company, and so it's really easy to do that, and they make it really simple to share back and forth. But here's the problem with syncing your Insta to your Facebook, is that generally when you're putting something on Instagram, you're not putting a call to action, you're not putting links, you're just putting a bunch of hashtags, and you're generally putting a shorter description. And here's the problem, is it comes across on Facebook like this: a whole bunch of hashtags and not a lot of information. Now, the reason why this one caught my attention is because it's a really beautiful kitchen. I really took notice of it. And in fact, it was actually posted by somebody that posts beautiful and interesting things. And so I was kind of interested in where it was and how much it was and all of that good stuff. But I looked at it on Facebook. I ended up seeing it on Facebook because I don't follow this person on Instagram. And I had zero information. I didn't know where this was. I saw there was a hashtag for Florida in there, but it didn't tell me anything about who it was or where it came from or how to even find information. And so here's the problem with the syncing, guys, is that when you do this, you are potentially losing not only traffic, but engagement on Facebook because you're syncing something without information. So really do think about that. This is kind of a bad use of social media for that reason, is that I don't get a lot of information here. I just get a whole lot of hashtags and no information. So if you're going to be syncing, at the very least, you need to go into Facebook and potentially edit that post and add a link to where I can find more information, or where I can find that listing, or how I can contact you, so that I can actually reach out to you if I'm interested in the property or the piece of information that you're sharing. This is also a really good example of that. And again, I'm titling this one, But Where Is It? Again, another sync from Instagram that I saw on Facebook. And, they said, I'm in love with this listing. It's fantastic. You should totally see this house. And I have no idea where to go and find out more information. What's the address? How much is it listed for? What city is it in? Just no information. So again, guys, you've got to remember, Instagram is different from Facebook. It's beautiful and there's fun photos. And I agree with you. One of my favorite social media sites out there is Instagram, but you've got to be able to use it differently than Facebook. And so when you are syncing this stuff, you've got to have that information in there. And I'm going to show you in this next one an example of why. So, and I like to use this example. I did a garage sale 2 years ago. And I did an experiment in my garage sale. I put 0 price stickers on anything. And so I thought it was an interesting human experiment. If you've never done that, people will come in and they will look at things and they will see that there's no price sticker and they will walk away. Very rarely will they say, how much is this? because they will just assume, okay, there's no sticker, whatever. And then as humans, we just kind of give up and we don't pursue it. If I go into a store and I see the same thing, I can't find the price on something, I just think, well, whatever, and I walk away. It's the same information or the same type of behavior on houses, guys. So here's the thing. This agent posted a beautiful new listing, put it on Instagram with just listed. And so this then synced over to Facebook. And the first question is, so where is it? And the next question is, how much is it? And again, you're forcing people to go in and ask you questions that you could provide the answers to. And I encourage you not to look at this as engagement. This isn't people that are going, oh, gee, let's have a conversation. This is people who are saying, it's frustrating that you didn't give me this information and I have to actually ask for it. And so, guys, when you are syncing this information, this is bad use of social media, is that you are actually making people go that extra step to ask more questions or dig deeper. That's not engagement, it's frustration. So give them the information up front. If you want to sync from Instagram, fine, but go in, edit your post in Facebook, and put the information in there. Here's a link. Here's the video. Watch more. Here's where you get for more information. Here's the price. And I know we always say, oh, I don't want to tell them the price, or I don't want to tell them the address, so they'll contact me. But human nature, guys, is that they won't contact you. They'll just keep clicking. They'll just keep looking through. They'll keep scrolling. And so chances are you'll miss that engagement. So I would really encourage you to make sure that you're putting those call to actions right up front. Here's another one, and I thought this one was kind of humorous, and I see this all the time, and this is just one example of what I saw in one group, but I probably saw hundreds of these this year. This is bad social media, guys. Hi, I need anyone in Connecticut. I have a buyer. Thank you. Guys, just a bit of trivia. Connecticut is 5,543 square miles or 14,357 square kilometers for my Imperial folks. So here's the thing, guys. That's a big area. I don't know about you, but I don't know any agents who cover 5,543 square miles in their area. So if you're going to ask for help, and this is a perfectly valid reason to jump onto a group, or especially a referral group, particularly the referral groups, not necessarily every group, because I do see some of these cross-posted across every single group they're a member of. But here's the thing, be more specific, okay? I'm sure your buyer isn't like, hey, I'm just going to go anywhere in Connecticut. They probably have a pretty good idea of where they want to live or what they need to at least be close to. So be a little more specific when you're asking these things, because you will find that not only will you not get comments, but you'll get a million comments of where in Connecticut. Or you may just get suggestions from people who are, 6 hours away from where you're looking, and potentially isn't going to be helpful, and you're going to be wasting everyone's time. So be more specific in your requests and start to think that process through, because if it would be frustrating to you, it's probably also frustrating to those folks who are reading it. Oh, this one, y'all, I can't even. This is, and I'm sorry to do this to you because the song will totally get stuck in your head, but this is the scam that never ends. This is the one that I think has probably been around since before Facebook was Facebook. I mean, I just feel like this has probably been even was being distributed back on AOL emails. Like, that is how old this scam is. This is not real. And I know most of you who are listening to this know this, but guys, anytime where you see something that starts with better safe than sorry, or I saw it on the news, it's probably fake. So anytime that you think that you have to post something with a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo that sounds like legalese in order to keep Facebook from sharing your information, this stuff is junk. This is spam, and it's just crappy stuff that fills up your news feed. Anytime somebody's asking you to copy and paste, guys, that's a pretty good indication that this is junk. And so this is bad social media. I saw a lot of this year. I don't know why this seems to come around at least once or twice a year and make the rounds. I grew up in a state where we had forest fires and we had Smokey the Bear. So I don't know if you guys recognize that, but he always used to say, only you can prevent forest fires. You guys, only you can prevent this kind of junk on Facebook. You just have to say no, stop copying and pasting. And worst case scenario, if you think it might be real, go on to Snopes, snopes.com, and type in some information from this, and it'll tell you right away, no, this is fake. It's not real. Do your homework. Stop sharing this kind of crap. It's really bad social media. Here's a Here's another example of bad social media, and that is something that really kind of has become this. It's just become an epidemic in our world this year, and that is fake news. Last year, I think one of the biggest things that we talked about in Good, Bad, Ugly, but also in a lot of the conferences that I went to, was clickbaiting, giving you kind of a really dramatic post title to get you to click on it. Excuse me. And here's an example of a company that's actually creating fake news to get people to click on it. So what you're looking at right here is not a real story. It's known as satire. It's known as fake news. And so the problem, though, is that a lot of people, mostly everyone, 70% of humans don't actually read the articles that they see on social media. They just read the title or the first line, and they take it as gospel. And so that's a real stat. 70% of humans don't read the actual article. They actually share things without even reading the article sometimes. And so people look at this and think this is real news, and they share it. And the problem is that this spammy fake news just tends to be perpetuated throughout the internet over and over and over again. And so one thing that I would say to you is, as professionals, as people who are hopefully engaging with other professionals and their clients and their customers and their family members, and trying to portray themselves as a professional in the industry, this is the kind of stuff, just say no. Just don't share it. Don't copy and paste it. This stuff is crap. Don't perpetuate it. This is another example of bad social media. And as a kind of funny aside, this is an actual real friend request that I got this year, where they put their name in as insert name here, and actually even took the time to put a photo in there, which I have to say, some points for creativity there. But the message here is not so much about not accepting friend requests from people with fake names. It's stop accepting every friend request. Seeing a lot of this, a lot of folks in this industry, they just accept every friend request they get without actually vetting them. And it's okay to not accept friend requests, even from people that you know, just so you know that. But it's really also important that you do a little bit of digging, at least click on them, go through and look at who they're friends with, see if their posts go back any further than just a couple of days. One of those things that happens a lot is people create fake friend requests or for fake accounts, and then friend request a whole bunch of people who are on your friend list. And I go in and I get a friend request and I click on them and I see, oh, we have 14 mutual friends. They must be a real person. But really, that's just 14 suckers who all accepted every friend request they get. So would really encourage you to do a little bit of homework, have a little more social responsibility when it comes to social media, particularly Facebook, and stop accepting every single friend request that you get. Do a little digging there. That is going to help cut down on all of those spam accounts. And really, it's going to help your timeline stay a bit cleaner, and it's not going to compromise your personal information as much. Here's another example of bad social media. And again, unfortunately, it comes down to syncing. And this is where you're syncing stuff onto Facebook from Twitter. Kind of didn't think that we would still in 2016 be talking about this, because it really doesn't work very well. If you are syncing from Twitter to Facebook, I would really encourage you to turn that off. Because as you can see, I've just given you 3 examples here of why that doesn't work very well. Your links come through kind of messy and not real attractive. But not only that, it's hard to tell whether these are spam links or valid links. And so I'm not as likely to actually go in and engage with you there. In fact, I'm probably not likely to engage with you on social media or on Facebook at all if you're just syncing this kind of stuff from Twitter. So take the time, if you're going to do this properly. Tweet out your information using your links and your hashtags, and then on Facebook, post it properly as a proper link so that people have the ability to see what it is before they click on it. You're going to get a lot more engagement that way. If you don't want to take the time to do that, just turn off the syncing so only your content goes onto Twitter. You're not doing yourself a favor when you use social media this way. This is another very interesting scam guess you could say, that's kind of gone around this year. And this one's kind of just gone crazy as well. Again, at the end, it says copy and paste. So every time you get something that says copy and paste this, you can pretty much be warned. But here's the thing, this is what's happening. The accounts aren't being hacked on social media. People are creating duplicate accounts in order to scam people. So what they do is someone goes in, a scammer goes in and creates an account that looks exactly like yours, uses your image and uses your information. And then what they do is they go in and they send a friend request to everyone on your friend list. And they want your friends to like them so that they can then go in and harvest personal information from your friends as well. It's just basically a big pyramid scheme of information gathering, if you will. So one of the ways that you can stop this, instead of posting this kind of stuff on your page that says, hey, if you get a duplicate account from me, don't accept it. Well, duh. But one of the better ways you can do that is if you actually protect your friends list and stop accepting friend requests from strangers. So you can go into your settings, go into your friends, and make your friend list available only to those people that you are friends with, or only available to yourself, and so that other people can't see everyone and friend everyone on your friends list. We have settings, we have security settings in Facebook for a reason. So I'd really encourage you guys to use those. If you haven't gone through settings and looked at your security settings in a while, those change frequently. So one of the best ways you can do this is not posting this kind of stuff on your social media accounts, but actually two things. Protect your friends list by locking that down, and stop accepting friend requests from strangers. Those are the two main ways that you can help keep your information a little more private. So moving on, something else bad. Oh gosh, you guys, this one, I might get some hate mail on this one, but I just couldn't. Headed out to door knock my farm. It's wet and dreary here today, and I feel like wearing jeans. Thoughts? My question on this one is, did this really need to go on Facebook? And not only that, but did this really need to go on Facebook in a group of 10 to 20,000 real estate agents throughout the world? I'm not really sure that we need to crowdsource whether you should wear jeans or not. I see this kind of stuff all the time. This is maybe just the more hilarious example that I could find. But guys, I get it. Social media is social, but there are times when these groups really, it just kind of dilutes the purpose of being in a group and asking for advice when you're going to ask for advice about what you should wear door knocking. So just maybe a thought there, just kind of, ask a friend, ask your wife or your kid, but maybe don't ask 20,000 real estate agents worldwide what you should be wearing today. Maybe not the best example of using social media for good there. Just a thought on that one. Here's another example, and since we're on the topic of groups, this one I'm categorizing as bad, and I'm calling it group dynamics. This is another question that I saw, and this is just one example of these kinds of questions that I see, particularly on a number of different groups throughout the internet. Out of the box owls, just one example, but this is an example of an agent who is asking a specific question about their area or their business. And I get it, people need help. That's what we're here for. But you're not going to get local advice on these groups. Most likely, you are going to get tons of non-applicable information from people who are all over the world and are going to give you information that doesn't even cater to your question. So I've seen questions like this. Other examples might be, how far in advance can I put a coming soon rider up? Or what are the rules around exclusive listings? Guys, when you post these on groups of 20,000 people from all over the world, you are not going to get the information that you need. You're going to get 45 or 60 or 150 responses, none of which are applicable to your area. So if you have one of those kinds of questions, I encourage you, find a mentor, find a broker, find someone in your area that you can ask that question to. Don't ask those on groups where you're not going to get information that apply to you, because then what you're going to end up doing is sifting through hundreds of responses that have nothing to do with you. And that's when Facebook or social media in general becomes a giant time suck. So just maybe don't do that. Another example of bad, and we're getting down to the end of bad here, is this one. And oh dear. Guys, a photo is worth 1,000 words, but a photo like this is worth 0 words. This tells me nothing. It's super dark and not at all helpful. So love that this photo was of a professional photographer taking photos, because we can definitely see why that's needed. But guys, these kinds of photos do you more harm than good. These are the kinds of photos where I just think, woof, Like, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to post about my listing if I list with you. So really encourage you, please don't be posting this kind of stuff. This is right up there with a small powder room with the toilet seat up. This is not the kind of stuff we want to see on social media representing a professional real estate agent. Okay, so no more dark photos or toilet seat up photos. Let's just make it a pact in 2017. All right, down to the end, and here's the last one, and probably the most important of the bad. And again, bad is stuff that we can learn from. So this one I've titled Please Stop, and I just don't know how to make that any more clear. This is an example of someone who has shared their real estate page, their social media page, and has said, hey, we're only 2 likes away from 600. Please like my page. Guys, this is a terrible business practice on Facebook. Facebook utilizes a tool called EdgeRank. And basically what Facebook does is they reward you for engagement if you get everyone to like your page and then they actually engage. But here's the thing, if you get everybody to like your page and they don't engage, Facebook is just going to stop showing your posts to everyone. So what that means is you might say, look, I want to get a whole bunch of likes because I want people to see my stuff. But when you get a whole bunch of likes from people who are not in your area and aren't going to engage with your content and aren't going to comment on it or like it or share it, you're basically just burying your content at the very bottom of a very big pile of junk. And so Facebook says, oh, great, you have 600 people that like your page, but none of them ever like your stuff and they never engage with you. So your stuff must be crappy. And so we're not going to show it to anybody ever again. So what you're better off doing is earning those likes by showing great content and have people who are actually really interested in your content finding your page and liking it organically. Because if they've liked your page because they're genuinely interested in the stuff that you're putting out there, they will continue to engage with your posts, which will improve your edge rank, which means more people will see your posts. So I know that seems a bit crazy because at first you're like, oh, I have a page and I just want a lot of people to like it because that means it's successful. It's actually better if you only had 12 likes and all 12 of those people engaged on everything than if you had 600 likes and nobody ever engaged. So stop this. Just stop this practice. Stop asking people to like your page. What you need to do is put out really good, engaging, valuable content and people will come. Okay? All right, so that's the bad. We've gone through the good. We've gone through the bad. We've survived. Now we're moving on to the ugly. All right, the ugly we like to call the just stop it section. The good is fantastic and amazing and warm and fuzzy, and the bad, you have an opportunity to fix it. It's not too late, but the ugly, this stuff, guys, just say no. All right, moving on. First one in the ugly category today is this: blanket statements. We all have opinions. Sure, absolutely. And one of the best things about having an online presence is that you have the opportunity to say whatever you want. But the thing is, it's the way we make these statements that can seem a bit off-putting. But here's the worst thing about this conversation, the one that you're looking at on the screen right now. It wasn't just the statement and it wasn't just who it was made by, it wasn't just how it was made, but it was the fact that underneath this, what you don't see is there were lots and lots and lots of comments, not necessarily positive comments, in fact, mostly negative comments. But the sad thing is that the original poster, the person who made this comment, never went back and engaged, never went back and defended their viewpoint or had a productive conversation with those folks that were commenting. They just spewed a blanket statement and walked away. And that is maybe one of the ugliest ways that you guys can use social media, is when you just spew something that is provocative or negative or not productive, and then you just walk away and you don't participate in the conversation afterwards. I would encourage you to avoid this because this is the kind of stuff that makes me not want to follow you or see your stuff anymore. This is also ugly. And not so much the rings, those are pretty, but guys, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and this stuff has got to stop. This is called click farming or like farming, and this is how this works. A spammer sets up a page representing a company, in this case, a ring company, a diamond company, and then they start spewing this kind of stuff onto the internet. Hey, like our page, share this post, and comment, and you might win. Here's the thing, that company doesn't exist. And nothing is ever going to happen and you're not going to win. But what they do is they capture your information. You like that page. They've now captured your information as a follower. They capture enough of that information, and then they sell the entire page to another spammer who rebrands it and continues to start spamming you, but also spamming everybody who's friends with you. And so you're actually perpetuating more spam on the internet by doing this. Now, I know what you're going to say, Val, you never know. I might actually win a ring. This might be the one time it's real. Or Val, oh my gosh, Costco really is going to give away 50, $100 gift cards in time for Christmas. It's not going to happen, people. It's not. Just trust me on this. It's not going to happen. The more that you like and you share this kind of stuff, you're not going to win something. They're just going to steal your personal information. They may start impersonating you. They're going to start marketing to your friends list. They're going to start putting more spam in your newsfeed, and they're going to perpetuate all of the ugly stuff that is social media. So resist the urge, guys. Stop liking and sharing and commenting on this kind of stuff. Equally as ugly as those ones that say, like this post or comment below and you'll see what happens next. Nothing happens next other than they just stole a little bit more of your personal information. Don't be suckers, guys. No such thing as a free lunch. One other way that social media is ugly, and not the original post here. The post up at the top is a lovely post from someone who I really admire and like, but what was ugly was the post that came below it. Is that this person, we'll just call him Jim, just spams an ad for his company as a comment on every single post that comes across his newsfeed. Guys, this is not good business practice. And I've seen real estate agents do this. Hey, sounds like you live in this neighborhood. If you ever want to buy or sell, call me. Guys, that is basically the online version of walking up to every single person in the grocery store this afternoon and saying, do you want my business card? Do you want to buy or sell? Come on, please, let's talk. I sell real estate. Guys, no. Okay? This kind of stuff is ugly social media. Don't do it. When you see other people do it, feel free to tap them on the shoulder, give them a private message and say, hey, this isn't the right way to be advertising your business. This is uncool. This is ugly social media. This is another one, and tell you what, I had a lot of opportunities to share some keyboard bravery this year. As you know, we've gone through a pretty, the United States has gone through a pretty big election, and there were a lot of opinions posted, and there were lots of opportunities to display keyboard bravery for 2016. But here's the one that I chose, because this is an actual real estate agent posting in a public conversation, attacking a perfect stranger. And this really bothered me because this is a person who obviously advertises them as a real estate agent in the company that they work for, in the area that they work. And they're really, really blatantly, obviously being rude on the internet. And so this is ugly social media. I know we have opinions, and I know that sometimes it's really tempting to air them because we think that we're hiding behind a keyboard. No one can actually see us. No one will actually know us. But I've seen dozens and dozens and dozens of examples of this year of people who have done this kind of thing, and they have been screenshotted and shared in back channels hundreds of times. And I can tell you what, guys, one single comment like this can have a far-reaching and permanent effect on your reputation. So I would really encourage you to please stop using social media this way. I know it's really tempting because you feel anonymous on the internet, but you're not. One click, 2 clicks, and I can get to where you work and who you work for, and it can have a far-reaching effect. And so I would really encourage you to please take a walk, go do something, walk away, push the keyboard away, but don't be using social media for this kind of retaliation and anger. It's just not productive, and it does have an impact on how people see you. Also, one of the uglier posts and ensuing conversations that I've seen this year is this one. Public rants about your clients, guys, are a just no. Public rants about who you work for, calling them names, talking about how criticizing what they expect from you as a professional. Guys, your job is service. Our job is serving others. That's our job. I hate to put it that simply for those of you that might come as a surprise, but our job is to serve others. And sometimes that means we're going to be serving people who are frustrating and who are difficult to deal with. But getting on the internet and doing a public rant about the people that you are working for or with is never, ever a good idea. And so I would encourage you to use this ugly example as a big, giant wake up call. If you are the kind of person, and I see lots of this, so much of this, where you get on and say, oh my gosh, I have the most difficult clients, and these people are so frustrating, and oh, I hate it when they ask me this, and why are people like this? I tell you what, you guys are dealing with people who are in the most frustrating, most stressful, and most difficult period of their lives. They are buying or selling, and it's scary and it's hard, and we have to give them grace, and we really should not be ranting about them publicly on the internet. And so, ugly, and just know. One of the other examples is this one. Again, we're talking a lot about copy and paste spam this year, lots and lots and lots of it going around, and especially one of these examples, this example of copy and paste this to bring awareness to this cause. I would encourage you, instead of doing this, instead of copying and pasting spam, especially spam that starts with sort of a clickbait title, is do something to bring awareness to a cause, sure, but give, volunteer, but stop this. This is the kind of stuff that makes people tune you out. It makes people shut you off. It makes people unfollow you. And it's not bringing awareness to anything. We talked a lot 2 years ago about the Ice Bucket Challenge and how that was actually informative and interesting and entertaining, and it raised a ton of money. But stuff like this, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't really bring awareness to anything, and it doesn't affect anybody, doesn't help anything. What it does is it just fills news feeds with the same copy and paste spam. So I'd really encourage you, if you see these, look at it a different way. Look at it as, hey, you know what? Maybe this is the reminder I need to actually do something, to give or volunteer or get involved, but stop the copy and paste. Here was another example. I thought that it was kind of funny, but definitely an example of a larger epidemic within social media, especially in our industry. I was at Inman, San Francisco this summer, and I was tweeting Urban Tavern, which is the restaurant in the hotel I was staying in, asking if they were not open for lunch or dinner at all, because previously, prior to the renovation, they were open. And so I tweeted them, are you not open for lunch or dinner at all? I couldn't find any information on their website about whether they were open or not. And I got a response, but I got a response 13 days later. Sadly, I was only in town for that conference for 4 days. And 13 days later, this information meant absolutely nothing to me. But what it did is it made me feel like that is just not a very responsive business on social media. And so it would have been better for them at this point, in my opinion, not to have responded at all than to have responded 13 days later. So I'd really encourage you, if you are the type of person that are getting messages there and you're not responding to them for days or weeks at a time, really start to think about that in terms of your communication strategy, having a strategy for responding quickly and promptly, because this makes a huge impact on your reputation. And as another example is this one. So I saw this. I don't really need people to send me messages on Twitter. Here's the thing, guys. Your online presence is just like your phone. So why would you have it if you aren't going to answer it? If you don't want people sending you messages on Twitter, it's probably best that you delete your Twitter account. If you're not available for responding to comments on Facebook after you post something, or if you're auto syncing and you're automating your social media content and you're not there to answer questions or to engage in the process, it's better that you're not there at all. It really is, because the problem is that it does more damage to you when you aren't responsive, or if you are responsive days or weeks later, than if you don't respond at all. And so I really encourage you to take a look. Maybe you don't need to be on every single site. I say this all the time. You don't have to be everywhere. You just have to be somewhere really well. I would encourage you, maybe don't be on every single social media site if you're not going to be active enough there to respond to comments or questions, or at least turn your notifications on so you're notified when you get a comment or a request, because it's really important to your reputation that you are responsive. So that's it, guys. That was the ugliest of the year. Now I know you could probably all come up with something that was far uglier, but I really wanted to try and keep this positive and educational this year. So a lot of the political stuff didn't make it in. You're welcome. One thing I would like to ask you as you're finishing off your year, as you're looking at your social media content, is ask yourself, is this what I'm posting? Does it bring value? Does it educate, entertain? Does it leave people feeling like they have more information than when they started? Does it make them feel like I have a grasp on our community and that I'm part of the community and that I want to help them be a bigger part of the community? Overall, You need to ask yourself, does this bring value? I would really encourage you to do that as you're going into the new year. I also want to, as we wrap this up, give a really special thanks to Blurry Guy, as always, for standing in for those of you who are the guilty. I would love for you to give us your feedback. You can reach me on social media at Valerie Garcia1 on Twitter or Facebook.com at valeriegarcia.ceo. Or you can also catch me by just using the hashtag goodbadugly. I hope you learned something. I hope you got a bit of a chuckle out of this. And I hope that you go away with a better understanding of what you can do to make the good list next year. So I hope you all have a very happy and safe holidays, and I will see you again next year.